South Carolina and Texas A&M are two teams that neither one of us have been particularly high on, but I think we've changed our tune just a little bit differently on South Carolina. So here we go. Let's start with South Carolina. 4 down. So first down, who is the most dangerous between the two teams overall? Is it South Carolina or is it Texas A&M?
Not even a question. It's South Carolina this year. Now, a long term, Texas A&M. I think one day Texas A&M will right this ship. But for 2023, it's South Carolina, and I don't think it's close.
Okay, I actually do think it's close. I think that most dangerous, I think South Carolina is in a better direction. I think Jimbo Fisher will eventually get fired when that buyout gets low enough. But as far as for this season, I believe that Texas A&M could be dangerous. I feel like we know what we're getting out of South Carolina this year, and that's going to be probably an 8-9 win team. I don't know if you've seen the over-under, but dangerous teams could overlook A&M because I don't think there's a terrible amount of respect for them right now. So I'm actually going to say A&M is more dangerous, maybe because I have a lower ceiling for them, Caleb, than I do South Carolina. So you'll take South Carolina. I will take Texas A&M as the more dangerous team. Okay. Is South Carolina dangerous? In what way? What would define South Carolina being dangerous this year? At the end of the day, we look back and we say South Carolina took a step in the right direction. They were dangerous in 2024. We look back at 2023. What makes them dangerous? Are they dangerous?
And for the record, before we go further, Tennessee is on this same list, guys, ahead of South Carolina and Texas A&M, considered more dangerous than those two teams. Right. My concept of dangerous would be a team that you don't think, and this is why it was a little shocking that Tennessee was on here, a team that you don't think will compete for the college football playoff, but could still be very good and could derail other teams' playoff hopes. So that's what South Carolina did to Tennessee last year. That is what they do. They face North Carolina. That's not a team they're going to be dangerous to, but they do visit Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. Sounds like what's being talked about is they're going to be dangerous against either Georgia or Tennessee on the road. I don't think they're going to be too dangerous against Tennessee. They could be dangerous against Georgia because Georgia could be overlooking them, and Georgia does have a very young team, and that's the third game of the year. You know this, Dave, as well as I do. A quarterback disparity can be the great equalizer in football, no matter how much more talented one team is than the other. And if Spencer Rattler plays like he did at the end of last year, well, and Georgia doesn't have a quarterback to start the year, well, then all of a sudden you might see something shocking happen in that game.
Well, if you want to use they could upset somebody and they're dangerous, then I'm going to say they're definitely dangerous. They beat Tennessee last year. I don't think they will this year, but it could happen. And so since it did last year, I will say it could this year. I think they could beat Florida if that's dangerous. Dangerous to me is, and we'll talk about Tennessee being dangerous. Dangerous to me is beating Georgia and getting to the SEC championship game, and they're not going to do that. I think we would both agree. So maybe we define dangerous a little bit different, but I think we've kind of got them sort of in the same spot.
Okay, but they'll win the East before Texas A&M wins the West. I'll tell you that right now. Neither is happening, but the East is way easier. Let's start with that.
I'm not going to split a hypothetical hair with you, but I don't like where Alabama's going. And what if Jaden Daniels were to get injured? Texas A&M with a new offensive look. I don't know that I would, if I had to place it, I wouldn't bet on either team. Let me be clear. But if I had to bet on either team to win their division, I think I'd go A&M because South Carolina would just have to get a crazy fluky game against Georgia and can potentially win. But we both agree neither's going to win their division.
Yeah, neither's going to win their division. But if South Carolina gets a fluke win over Georgia, which won't happen, but if they do, they might have already won the East at that point. Look, the East is outside of Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina. The whole division is garbage this year. Florida's garbage, Vanderbilt's garbage, Kentucky's garbage, and Missouri's garbage this year.
Okay, let's move on to third down. Is A&M dangerous, and what would define that, Caleb? Texas A&M, being dangerous. What would define that for you?
Again, for Texas A&M, and we're defining it differently, but for me, for Texas A&M, being dangerous would have to mean beating one of the very good teams they play this year, whether it be Alabama, who they get at home, Tennessee on the road, Miami on the road, Ole Miss on the road, and LSU on the road. I mean, those are five. They have to win 2 or 3 of those games. You would say winning the West. I'm going to tell you this right now. They're not winning any of those games. I've said from the start, A&M's going 3-9 this year, and I'm staking my claim to that.
Well, I don't think they'll be that bad, but we'll see. So, A&M dangerous to me, that would be beating LSU and or Alabama. And since I think Alabama is down, could they derail Alabama's attempt to be back to a championship level and make the college football playoff? Yes, I will say they're dangerous enough for that. So by my definition, they're dangerous. I don't think they're going to be 3-9 either, but I wouldn't be surprised by a 6-6. So either way, you're not competing for anything big time. Okay, will the Vols beat both? And then I want to get into what makes the Vols dangerous and what defines their danger level, Will Robinson. Will the Vols beat both, one or neither? They both show up on the schedule this year.
They will beat both. They play them back-to-back with the bye in between. So they have South Carolina, then a bye, and then Texas A&M. They will beat both easily. They'll beat South Carolina because it's going into a bye and they want revenge. And they'll beat Texas A&M because Texas A&M won't be that hard to beat, and they'll be able to look ahead of Texas A&M to Alabama and still win in a blowout.
I think Tennessee beats both, and I think they do win both games handily. As far as more dangerous between the two for the Vols, I'll take A&M because I think there is a bit of an unknown there, and I think South Carolina. I think that game has been circled by Tennessee's players as a revenge game. Not that you don't get up for every game, but I think in particular you get up for the South Carolina game. So
I actually agree with you on that, even though I think South Carolina is more dangerous. For Tennessee, A&M is more dangerous, largely because Alabama's the next week. So
yeah. So okay, so Tennessee, so South Carolina is 6th on this list of most dangerous. Texas A&M is 8th, but Tennessee is 5th. So let's get to the Vols. In some ways, dangerous it's almost a backhanded compliment. It's like, you know, you're smarter than you look, and because Caleb, yeah, I mean Tennessee's already dangerous. Dangerous to me defines making the college football playoff. Well, they were right there and number 1 at one point in the season last year, so. I'm not exactly sure what defines this list by 247, but I mean, I think Tennessee's right up there with one of the most dangerous teams in all of college football. They could shake the apple cart. They could make the playoff. We discussed whether or not they're back. That's very debatable, but they're back in terms of competing for a playoff. So that to me is dangerous, and that's a given. So I don't think that them being 5th is any huge, prophetic statement, a profound statement. I don't think that's. I think 5th is maybe a little low. I think the Vols are more dangerous than that.
Yeah, you're right. What are we defining as dangerous? That's a good question because, okay, let's go through the list of the first 5 games: Virginia, Austin Peay, Florida, Texas, San Antonio, South Carolina, Texas A&M. Those are the first 6. Tennessee, none of those teams are going to overlook Tennessee, I don't think. Do you think any of those teams would overlook Tennessee?
No, I think you're past that point. To me, dangerous is like Tennessee was dangerous last year. They'd get overlooked.
Yeah. So then the first game where Tennessee is going to be an underdog, which we both agree is Alabama. I can tell you right now, Alabama's not overlooking Tennessee after last year. Like the way we talk about Tennessee with South Carolina, you don't think Alabama desperately wants to get back at Tennessee this year? And they're not overlooking Tennessee. They may not be good enough to still beat Tennessee, which is a bold statement, but they're not overlooking Tennessee. I'll tell you that much. So the only time you could get to dangerous is when Tennessee faces Georgia the next to last week of the year. And because that's going to be with the SEC East on the line, probably, I doubt Georgia's going to overlook that game.